Welcome to episode 10, Boosting Online Success, Mastering Digital Marketing, SEO and Q4 preparation already. I feel like we're only just into, it's Q3, is it Q3 now? Oh wow.
Just into Q3, yeah.
Into Q3, July.
The big Q.
Into July and sunny and, it's not, it's cold and probably
Looks
going
like
to be
it
wet.
could rain.
But yeah, good morning guys. So this is Kelly and Jessica from Accentuate. They're a digital marketing agency specialising in SEO and pay-per-click.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourselves a bit more about who you are and just a bit more about the company and things, I guess?
Yeah, so Accentuate, obviously we're specialising in search engine optimisation, which is getting sort of organic traffic to your website and paid advertising. So mainly focusing on Google with a little bit of social advertising in there as well. Our main focus is to get e-commerce clients found on Google. Okay. So we're very data driven with everything that we do. Everything is sort of based on numbers and facts and figures, and then we sort of use that to drive our decisions as we try and help people to get found on Google.
Nice. And how does the roles split between yourselves?
So generally I tend to take the paid advertising. That's sort of what I've dedicated a lot of time and sort of effort into kind of getting better at.
Yeah.
And then I tend to take the search engine optimisation side as well. So,
nice.
And there's a whole side of that, isn't there, that SEO is this mystical, magical art, and we're here to demystify that, and that it is human friendly, and sort of not use jargon or explain what it means, so that it's more accessible to people because it is quite logical. Mm-hmm. And Google just wants really good websites that are helpful at the top.
Yeah, I've always seen that Google sort of explain it as, don't try and trick us or anything else. It's just have a good website and sort of structure it the right way and you've got a good chance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I've no doubt there's a lot more tips and tricks. So
our
website alone could probably do with a good bit of work on it. So how did you guys come about starting it? How long has the business been going for? Just tell me how it's going, I guess.
So I always said when I was at uni that I'd start my own business, but I got to the end of uni and I was like, oh no, I don't know anything about business. I can't do that right now. So I said, I'm going to give myself 2 years and then I'm going to start the business. I ended up going into teaching where I taught product design, laser cutting, kids with saws. It was great. I ended up doing my masters then, so that was 3 years. So I was like, I need to finish this. So on my second year, handed my notice in on my birthday, and I was like, right, I've got 1 year now to sort myself out and go into the world of business. And honestly, I've learned so much. It was branding when I began, and we've evolved so much since then. But yeah, haven't looked back since. So. And then obviously you can talk about how you joined.
Yeah, so my background was in supply chain, mostly purchasing. I ended sort of my corporate career, I guess, doing a lot of reporting for the purchasing team, sort of letting them know what targets they were hitting, how things were going in the department. But I was based in the warehouse, so I've got quite a lot of warehouse experience as well while I was there, which it's quite useful when I'm sort of trying to help our clients get rid of stock, especially. So we've got one client that has got external warehousing that they don't want to be paying for, and I'm like, right, okay, so this is a strategy we need to use to help you get rid of that. And all of that sort of reporting and working with figures really comes in handy when I'm trying to kind of evaluate all of the figures and the data that we get. And Cal wanted me to join the business, didn't he, for quite a while, and I've always had an interest in sort of digital marketing, but I was like, am I ready to take the plunge into business and kind of not be paid every month, sort of guaranteed? But it's working out really well, isn't it? We're going from strength to strength. We've had a really good start to our financial year this year. So yeah.
And how long have you been going for?
So I've done this for 10 years now, but I was more freelance for 6, and then I was like, I really want to grow a team, but I was very much at the beginning, my hours were just full. I wasn't focused on working on the business. I was working in the business. So since 2020...
It was a limited company.
We've been a limited company, and we're a team of 3. About to have 2 lovely interns start us next week, so it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Where are they from?
University of Birmingham.
Okay.
Yeah, the quality was amazing. We struggled to sort of whittle it down to 3. We were only having 1, and now we've had 2, so...
That's good.
Yeah.
So you started... Obviously, you've been going for a bit longer, but then you decided to just focus a bit more in 2020.
Yeah.
Obviously, a fair bit happened in 2020.
Yeah.
How did that work? I guess was of remote working, and that's been fine.
Yeah, that's been fine. So obviously, in that time, we were more branding based back then, and when sort of lockdown hit, a lot of companies actually was like, oh, we've got time to work on our branding now. So we were actually really busy. We were one of the really lucky ones. I think it'd be different now because obviously we're more like SEO, it's more marketing, and I think those were some of the first things that sort of were paused. Yeah, but yeah, we were really lucky.
So what made you pivot from branding to...
So it was branding, then it was websites. So dabbled in a lot of things really over the years, and then we really found a passion for helping people get found once their website's done, and that's where like I was like, oh yeah, you've got your website, but it was that next level of, well, how do you then use that? And even when I did branding, if I had an ebook, I was like, well, how are you marketing that ebook, and how is that going to give you a return on investment? Because yeah, you've just got this lovely ebook, but how are you doing an email campaign? Are you tracking your link clicks? You know, how is it going to work? So I think it's natural progression really, and we've wanted to niche and focus, and SEO and paid advertising are so huge in their own right, and I want us to be the experts and seen as the experts in those two fields. That's the goal.
I've always had I was going to say love-hate relationship with SEO. I'm generally just going to say a hate relationship actually. Not because they don't do work, but it's obviously hard. I'd say on your side, I guess you get potentially some quicker wins.
Yeah.
And you can be like, yeah, we can do this and that. But with you, like, I would assume you could be like, look, it's going to take a bit of time.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah.
But obviously it's making sure that the agency is actually doing what they say they're doing, and they're committing that time. And I guess from my point, I've seen it where they do a fair bit at the beginning and then it kind of just tails off when they get new and new clients. How do you kind of convince people that you are legit and that you are, you know, really aiming to get them where they need to do and keeping their focus during those sort of long months when the results may not be coming in straight away?
That's a really good question. So that's the biggest thing for us and why we're really passionate about SEO, because we're really transparent, and actually good SEO is working really closely with the client. We have like an overview board where we have everything that we're doing that month, and we're always after showing progression in some way, because SEO isn't just about keywords. It's, you know, have you got your monetization tab set up in Google Analytics? Do you know how much organic traffic and actually how much that's worth? And we even do things like, we've got a website that's generating a lot of traffic, but the navigation is not great, and you could go several different ways to get to a certain page. So we've redesigned how all the menus should be looking, and like they've implemented that. So like, I think for us, it's always about, we really communicate, and at the end of every month, we do like a video analysis of everything that we've done that month, because it's not a secret of what we've done to help the keywords get better or to help you get traffic. And like, we'll be really transparent about anything that hasn't worked, that has worked, and then what we're going to do next. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, it's not just a report at the end of the month that doesn't really mean anything. It's like, you know, we've looked at your content against your 3 competitors. They've got product analysis in there. They've got FAQs in there. Like, to compete with those top 3, this is what they're doing, and this is what we need to do for you. So I think that's the biggest thing about SEO for us, is that transparency and making sure we communicate.
And is this, like, we just ended June, so Google Analytics has just changed?
Yeah.
How has that been? Like, have you had to explain to all your clients they need to change to the new version? And I guess just explain what that is, because it was quite a big change from Google. Yeah,
absolutely. To be fair, we started implementing it a long time ago. We were really early. The important, obviously, is the deadline coming up, is that it had to be done so that, because Universal is going to be sunsetted, so there'll be no data coming through. I think the biggest changes are that the data is slightly different. So like bounce rate is now called engagement rate.
But it's measured differently.
Yeah.
So you can't compare like metric for metric. It'll never be the same because of how Google has sort of decided it's going to count all of these things now. I think that's probably the most important thing, is just to go, oh, well, we used to get X amount over here on the old Google Analytics, and we're now getting this on the new Google Analytics. Has something sort of, you know, gone wrong on my website? It's probably not. It's just that Google's changed how it's measuring things.
And it's more anonymised, the data, is it? Like, they've tried to make it more sort of privacy?
They have, yeah. You can't drill into as many details as you used to be able to, and sort of setting things up like the monetisation tabs in Google Analytics 4. You do have to get quite involved with it, don't you, to sort of get that level of info, which I think on analytics used to be sort of quite straightforward. So yeah. Yeah,
and obviously, if anyone has, because I guess a lot of people add analytics to their account, and if they're not working with an agency, they're probably not looking at that often, and have missed the big bars that appear all over it. So on the pay-per-click side, which channels or sort of areas that you focus on? Is it just Google ads? Is it Facebook ads? You know, how does that work?
I would say the majority is Google. We have started to introduce Facebook ads as well, like Facebook, Instagram, just because so many people are asking us for it and they don't want to be going to 2 agencies for a similar thing. It's also quite useful because we can make sure that like the messaging aligns and that sort of everything's consistent across the board. It also helps us from a reporting point to go, actually this channel might be working a little bit better for you, you're getting a better return on your investment here, so let's put more budget here. Whereas sometimes when you've got the 2 agencies, there's a little bit of sort of a bit more of a delay in getting that information and making those decisions. But yeah, Google seems to be sort of working. You know, it's always worked very well. 57% of people, when they're looking for something, go to Google first. So you're never really going to go wrong while you're doing sort of Google advertising. Yeah, it's very interesting. It changes very quickly, and there's always a lot happening with Google. They're bringing in quite a lot of automated strategies and pushing you to go for those strategies at the moment. But it's just knowing when to make that switch from the manual, that you've trained the Google algorithm enough that you're happy for it to be like, okay, yeah, you can go and find my customers for me now.
So if someone was so a small business or whatever, they want to start up on Google Ads, or maybe probably revisiting Google Ads, because I guess a lot of people have tried it over the years and have. I guess Google has also sends out those sort of vouchers or sort of whatever they call them. So everyone's generally giving it a go. They've stuck 200 quid or whatever on it and probably didn't work, and then they've come off it and never spent anything ever again. So without going to an agency initially, how do you think they could sort of structure a campaign? What kind of how should they set it up, you know, and get it going? And
I guess it would depend whether you're sort of, if you're going for e-com, obviously you need to have your Google Merchant Centre set up, and you need to make sure you've resolved any of the issues that come up as red flags in the diagnostics tab in Google Merchant Centre, because if you have any red flags, they're not going to be showing in the shopping ads on Google. That's probably the easiest way to get started, because you don't need to sort of have as much keyword research, because you're not putting keywords into Google. It is literally just showing you products. That does mean, however, that you need to have optimised your titles for your products so that they're found easy enough on Google, and it knows what it is so that it shows it to the right person. A lot of that comes as well from the classification, like, you know, the GTIN numbers that you have to put on everything from your barcodes. Google's getting quite strict with that now on Merchant Centre, so you have to have those in on your products for them to work for shopping ads. Google's bringing in it has brought in Performance Max campaigns, which are sort of quite powerful, but you just don't get a lot of data. So for me, I like to know exactly what's going on and what's exactly working. But just starting out, it's probably not a bad place to start and see how things go,
We've got a couple of Performance Max ones, I think, which I was kind of playing with. And I remember, again, I guess they've always had these sort of automated ones, which never seem to do a lot. And the manual ones seem to always be better. But this one seems interesting because it seems to pull in like videos and pictures and it seems okay. I wouldn't say we've well optimised it by any stretch, but it seems it's chugging a lot.
I think your Performance Max ones, they'll do okay. You're not going to get as good results if you know what you're doing and you can really drill into the data and do it manually. Because when you're doing it manually, you're like training Google basically to go, this is who I do want, this is who I don't want, and this is who I want you to spend more money going after, and don't spend as much on this group of people over here for sort of whatever reason. It might be the time of day, where they live.
And can you do those things on Performance Max or not?
To be honest, Performance Max isn't really something we've used a lot of, because I prefer the manual strategies. I'll move them over to an automated strategy, but at the minute it's more of the automated shopping strategies that we're using, where you do sort of still have that bit of control over sort of who can see what you're doing and where it's going.
I don't know if it's showing my age, but I remember because obviously you had Google Shopping and then something else before that, and then I used to use it when it was Frugal.
Okay.
And there was no charges, so it was Frugal, then it was Google Shopping, but no advertising on there at all. And I built whole businesses around that, and it was amazing because very few people were on it at the time. And then they brought in the advertising, I think like 2012, something like that. And that's when it obviously started becoming a lot more expensive, and you couldn't advertise on everything as much. But yeah, that probably is old.
Yeah, before my
Back when everyone used to call it the Google as well.
Google.
The Google
For 21, you must just do a lot of research.
Exactly,
into the
yeah, I've
past,
just been watching
you
a lot
know.
of old videos on. Was YouTube around then? Yeah, I guess it was. So people, they can try it out. What kind of tips? So they've set up a campaign, be it Performance Max or a basic one, and I guess maybe more for a traditional business rather than say a Google merchant type one.
Yeah.
What are like the top 2 or 3 things that you think they should at least tweak in the settings or look out for?
So don't just leave it, would be my first one. Don't just turn it on and forget about it. You have to be monitoring it because Google will spend your money.
Okay.
And it might be spending your money on things that aren't working.
Yeah.
So my first tip would be sort of make sure you're adding negative keywords to your account, and don't just add negative keywords sort of specific to your industry. There's like so many resources on the internet of like lists of keywords that you should be adding. So I have like several lists that I add to every account because they're sort of suitable and they're sort of categorised by sort of different themes. So make sure you've got negative keywords in there because that really helps to narrow down the traffic to the right people. Set up audience tracking just so you know if there's particular audiences. So you can have like observation audiences where it'll just sort of track the data, who's clicking through the most, who's sort of converting the most, and who you're paying less for when you get that conversion in sort of the interest, demographics, all that sort of stuff. Make sure you're sort of keeping an eye on that because you can do bid adjusts. So if there's a particular group of people that are converting better, you can do sort of bid adjust, they're called. So you can go, bid 10% more when people fall into this category, and you know they're more likely to convert at a cheaper cost. So it's going to improve your cost per conversion.
Yeah.
What would be another one? It would probably be to keep an eye on the schedule.
Okay.
Because if you've got ads running 24 hours a day, and there's a lot of people say clicking at like 1am, 3am in the morning, but they're not converting, you don't want to be showing ads at that time.
I always remember that was like the drunk people or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Which,
Right,
I
so-
guess if you're doing an e-com and people sort of like do those impulse buys, it might be a good one. But,
I guess it's that thing, isn't it? Like, depending on what sector you're in.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're doing business to business, they're probably only going to
you
do
want to do
9 till
office
5.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah. So, and when would be a good time for people who, you know, I guess they either don't want to do the pay-per-click themselves or they've done a bit themselves and they want to start using you guys.
Yeah.
When would be a good time? And I guess how would you see their account evolve over time?
Yeah, so we always try to make sure when we're doing Google ads specifically that people are profitable. So from the ads, so obviously there's got to be a bit of an investment up front. You've got to pay like the management fee for us to look after it. There's quite a lot of work that goes into looking after a Google account, which I'm sure you appreciate. And that you've got the sort of, you're prepared to invest and spend on Google. So we would usually recommend spending at like a minimum of £500 a month to get started. Sometimes after a couple of months we don't see much progress and we're like, you need to be spending more to see the progress. I always sort of try and explain it to people, when you're doing Google ads, you're buying data, and that's what sort of drives your decision. So you don't see it as like, oh, I'm trying to buy conversions and things like that. You're buying the data to help you make the decisions to get the conversions. There's all sorts of little calculators I do with people. So I always sort of ask, what's your cost for sort of, you know, the leads? How much are you willing to pay to get the leads? So that we can kind of just have a look at the data that Google gives you in the forecasting and the keyword planner, just to make sure it's feasible, that you can get leads for the cost, that you're sort of happy to pay for them, and that there's enough sort of enough people searching on Google, which it's never normally a no on that one.
And I guess for your, I can't remember the exact term, but you know, like the bid type or the conversion type or whatever, how do you have it structured for yours? Is it like cost per acquisition or is it TPC?
It depends on the account. So we've got one account at the moment where we have like target ROAS, so that's return on ad spend.
Yeah.
So as long as Google can achieve sort of like a certain percentage of return on ad spend, it can spend what it wants.
Okay.
And there's like no budget essentially. There's others where we won't have that sort of data yet to go, we know we can achieve this and still get conversions. So usually it's just sort of a very manual strategy of kind of going, right, we know this is what our rough target is of what the customer wants to pay for the leads and what our cost per click is, and we'll sort of change which metrics we look at. But it's knowing your numbers. Once you know your numbers and you know sort of you've set yourself like little targets, it's a lot easier to kind of see how the progress of the account's going. And then it all depends what you're trying to achieve with Google. Are you just trying to maintain? Are you trying to grow? Have you sort of set yourself up so you can reliably know what you're going to be getting from Google to then go, actually, if I spend X amount more money on this, I'm going to get a lot more leads in, and you know that result's guaranteed.
Yeah, I guess it's quite hard working out the sort of calculations on that kind of thing. Maybe if you're just trying to sell a product and you say, well, it's £100 retail and it costs us £50 to buy it and X amount, you know, the delivery costs. But even then, I guess you've got to account for all of the actual costs that you don't necessarily think, because you think it's just cost price, retail price.
So tips for Q4 is, yes, you've got to be getting your content ready for the lead up. You know, you've got Black Friday coming up, Cyber Monday, and obviously Christmas. What you want to do is get your, you know, top 10 picks for Christmas or top 10 picks for Cyber Monday. And what I've got a little trick for you actually. So if you want to get a backlink, which is a link for another website, there's a way that you can search in Google. I'll do a blog that we can link to for this, where you can search if there's been a top 10 list for like 2022, for example, but there isn't one for 2023 yet. What you can do is write your top 10 list, reach out to the editors, and then you can have like the backlink for the top 10 list. And if you're going after a company that's got a really good domain authority and you've wrote this article for them on the top 10 presents for Christmas, you might actually get that linked to you. When it comes to SEO, like, you just want to be doing it consistently. I almost see it like a gym workout. You could do 2 months and then you're off for 2 months and you know, you sort of lost the flow. So it's always, even if you just do a little bit, you always want to be like doing some work on SEO. There is always something that you can be doing, and writing those articles is key.
Good. And I guess that first thing about the webmaster, I can't remember.
Google Search Console. Yeah.
Webmaster tools for me.
Yeah.
But I guess the first thing is at least acknowledging and fixing any of those mistakes so that you're not like losing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the indexing is always the first thing. So you can run a Google Lighthouse report. If you literally put that into Google, you can run your website through it, and it will give you a list of all the things that you need to do to improve from a speed point of view. And then obviously you've got your Google Search Console set up. It's really simple to set up. If you've already got a Google Analytics set up, you usually can link them and it verifies it for you. Otherwise you have to add what's called a DNS record to your domain. It sounds really technical, but if you Googled it, it's really simple to add DNS records to get your Google Search Console verified. But yeah, before you sort of kick anything off with SEO, you've got to make sure that your website is a good performance and it's getting indexed, and you've got no 404s is sort of bare minimum things to do.
Got you. Okay. So paid advertising Q4. Where do we go?
Yeah, start now.
Okay.
Get all your ad copy written. Know what products you're going to be putting in your offers and sales. Again, know your numbers for those products. Know what you're willing to spend. I'd probably recommend not putting in Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas sale words, keywords, just because they're going to be really expensive. People are still going to be searching for the products that you sell, services that you sell, and expecting to get a discount on them at that time. Depending on sort of like really how long you want to run your sort of Black Friday sale for, you could start it as early as the start of November, and perhaps maybe even like October for sort of if you're doing email marketing with sort of products linked in. But definitely get everything prepared now so that there's no sort of big rush to get it done in time, and that you're sort of ready to just turn your ads on. One thing that I probably would say is if you haven't run ads before and you're new to ads, don't leave it to your sale to start running them. There's going to be like troubleshooting that you're going to have to do, like conversion tracking. You need to know it's working, you need to know it's working right, so that when you get that data in, it's giving you the right information. You can also sort of like almost test your keywords as well, just to give them like a little bit of a taster to see how they're doing. Google loves an account that's got history. It always favours ones that have been running ads for ages. You're always going to pay a lot less for your keywords. And obviously you can kind of just make sure you've got those negative keywords in to make sure your intent's right in the account as well. But yeah, 100%, get everything ready now, get all your ad copy ready, any creatives that you're going to do, get them all signed off, ready to go. You can almost even get it set up in your account. what you could also do is if you've got a campaign that's working really well but you want to change your ad copy, you could duplicate it. Obviously I wouldn't say ever turn it off, but set your budget to like a penny a day so it won't spend anything. And then change all your ad copy in there for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. If you've got those words in your ad copy, that isn't going to affect how much you're paying for it, but you're going to be speaking to the customer that's looking for a sale at that time.
Got you. And do you find that the big prices go up? How does it does it get more expensive?
It gets really competitive, which is why I would recommend not putting Black Friday, Cyber Monday in the account probably. I mean, if you sort of, if you're pretty confident, then go for it, or you're willing to spend that bit more, go for it. But yeah, I do find that it gets a little bit more expensive around Christmas, leading up to Christmas. And that's just sort of parts of the peaks and troughs of going through Google Ads. You just have to know. You have to have done your research and you know when those sort of
and I guess reevaluating where your budget is as well.
Absolutely.
Because obviously if you've got a £500 budget for January, a £500 budget in November is going to go half as long.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So anything else you want to talk about? Any tips or guides?
I was just going to say in terms of an SEO point of view, it's making sure that page is the best that it can be. So it may have been great when you did it, 6 months ago, whatever it is, but always keep looking back at your competitors. Are there more things? Are there other helpful questions that people have answered from your experience of selling that product that you could put on there? And also make sure, look at your analytics in terms of how many people are clicking it, how many people are actually converting and buying from you. Is that landing page going to be the best one for ads or not? Or, because if you've got a page that's got a lot of traffic and you've never really done well from a conversion point of view, the answer is that you've obviously got to do something to improve that page before you then throw a load of money on Google Ads for it. So making sure that page is the best that it can be is key, and making sure those photos that you've got stand out really and are better than your competitors. So then you stand a really good chance then when you are going in for these, big sales, that yours is going to be better than everybody else's. Something else that I haven't touched on, don't know how technical this will be, but it's making sure you've optimised your titles of your pages. You want to make sure your keyword is in the title. The meta description is the little bit of writing that appears on Google. Is that the best it can be? If you haven't set a meta description, Google will just pull some content to that meta description and have ... at the end. But when you look at your competitors, what are their meta descriptions? What are the keywords they've got? Make sure that yours stands out. So if you've got free delivery, if you've got a 20% off, make sure your meta descriptions reflect it. Have it in the page title. So then when someone's looking, this company's got free shipping and there's 20% off. So there's lots of little things that you can do, just keeping an eye on what's going on in Google, just to make sure that you're up there with what you're saying.
Nice. And I guess one other small area we haven't talked about is how all this is going to change with AI and ChatGPT and stuff, and even search engines themselves, because there's an app I was using, Perplexity or something.
Okay.
And it's like Google but using only AI, and it's actually really good because it is that whole thing of it just tells you the answer without you having to go on the website and check everything. So quite a big shift, and I don't think Google itself would like that.
No.
But I guess what tools could they use using some of the AI possibly to help them out?
Yeah.
And anything I guess they should be aware of in AI, and just how do you think it's going to go?
So I'd say there's definitely a place for AI. You can tell what someone's put. So if you've used ChatGPT, for example, with some of our internal applications, you can see straight away there's just little things, there might be an American spelling in there, and it usually throws out similar sentences. And that all depends on the query that you put in. If you make your query that you put in really detailed, this is a bit about the company, these are our values, this is what we do. Make it as detailed as you possibly can. It's going to give you sort of a different answer. It's always good as well. We have plagiarism checks. There's loads of different tools that we would use. But it's always best to sort of use it as a guide, I would say. You want to pretty much write something yourself. And then if you're really struggling with a way to say it, to then do that. It is good from an SEO point of view, if you're searching for, and I haven't touched on this yet, but there's a term called entity keywords. And all it is when you've got a keyword, there'll be secondary, as in entity keywords, that are associated with it. And what you can do is go, well, okay, if you could use an AI tool, what are the secondary entity keywords for this? And it gives you all of the different terms that Google would expect to see on a page. It's really useful from that point of view. And then there's different page tools. There's one called Surfer SEO, for example, Content Paste, where you can write your article, you can plug in all these secondary keywords, related keywords, and it makes sure that your content has everything in, and it sort of scores it. So it's sort of a blend of it. You don't want to rely on it. We've seen quite a few websites where they've got loads of blogs and you can just tell like they've got one product, they've wrote it for another, and it just sounds the same. And if we think of helpful content from Google, at some point, is that going to be affected if that's not really that helpful, if it's quite top level, quite generic? So from the SEO point of view, I'd just say, yes, use it. It does have a place. I'd probably say more on the research side, but you're always going to check everything anyway. But yeah, just be careful when you use it, would be my advice.
Definitely. Yeah, I guess similar for Google really. You can use it to help you sort of come up with creative descriptions and headlines for your Google ads and your Facebook creatives. You can use it to give you ideas for like creatives and sort of wording to use, I suppose, for your ads. That's sometimes really helpful actually if you just you're having one of those days where you're just I cannot think of anything else, I need some inspiration from somewhere. It's I usually sort of head to ChatGPT and go, right, I'm trying to sell this, give me some ideas.
I've seen it certainly on I think Performance Max when it's like, give us 10 headlines, give us 10 descriptions.
Absolutely.
And you've got to 5 and you're like, I can't think of anything else without saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I guess like that could be
Yeah, it's really hard sometimes, and once you've kind of got in one thing, you're like, right, I need to write 3 ads for this ad group, so I've got to think of it's 15 headlines per sort of when you're doing a search campaign ad. It's 15 headlines, 4 descriptions, and there are obviously certain lengths. And it's always 2 to 3 ads per sort of ad group, so then you have to get really creative. So yeah, AI definitely helps with that. It helps just quicken up the process a little bit to give you those ideas. Again, obviously you've got your machine learning, which is sort of AI in Google. The smart campaigns are really good, but you have to have trained the algorithm first. You have to know that Google's going after what you want it to be bringing in before you make that switch, ideally. Yeah.
Nice. So utilising AI to give you that bit of just extra spark.
Yeah. I would never
unlocking
on
the things in your head, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's, especially if you've had a day of writing product descriptions, you're probably very things to say. And I guess it can kind of embellish some of that and make it a bit more visual and exciting, especially if like copywriting isn't your first first skill.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Anything else you think we should know?
I've got some specific examples for helpful content for e-commerce businesses. So some of the things to look out for if you want to optimise your product page are, do you offer free shipping? Okay. What is the return policy? Are there warranties, upgrades, add-ons that somebody could add on if they're buying that product? Are there customer testimonials, reviews that you could display on that page? And they're just like a few ways that can help your product page be a little bit different and to really not convince, but assure somebody that this is going to be the best product for what they want it for. And I've talked about helpful content quite a bit. And for me, SEO is just being logical and having content that's useful. And I think sometimes we can get so overwhelmed by the word search engine optimization, or I really don't know what to do. But actually, everyone, if with that understanding, can do work on their SEO. And I think it's really important just to take a look at the results, take a look at what you're doing, compare, and what can you do to implement it.
I think that's really interesting because it does sound like, it doesn't really mean anything because it's search engine optimization. It's like, what does that mean? You just want to display the best content for the people. I guess if you did like a focus group with someone, which is kind of what Google is, and just said, do you know what my free shipping policy is? Do you know why you should buy my product? And so on and so on. If that doesn't come out, then I guess that's what you need to put in.
Yeah, exactly. You've just got to see that Google wants the best page at the top, and what have you got to do to make that yours? And I know it's a lot more complicated than that, but we're really about like top level. There's some technical sides of it that You know, there's like schema data, which is structured data for how the algorithm reads your website. But even that, once you know how to do it, or you know, if you've got us on side, like there are things like, right, let's do some schema, and it's going to help Google to read your website and read what's on it and make sure that it's seeing everything it needs to see to value what's on your website against others in the best way.
Lovely. And just finally then, so how are you guys doing in business? What's your plans for future global domination? What are you aiming for?
Yeah, we're going for it.
We want to be the go-to search engine optimization and paid advertising company in Birmingham to start with.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Yeah. We want to grow a team, don't we?
Yeah, we really want to grow a team, and for us, we're constantly like evolving and improving our process. So like we did like the NatWest still love this, but we did the strategic visioning. So we stood on the mountain and went 2 years in the future, and we looked back and what were all the milestones we wanted. So it was like we wanted to look after our team, and one of the things was that we wanted to be a living wage employer. So we got that accreditation last week. We're looking into like perk boxes because we want people to join us. Other things is that we want to win awards. Obviously accreditations are really important, but we've sort of built that map really across 2 years, and we want to just be the best that we can be.
Yep.
Don't know if you want to add
No.
anything to that.
No, that sounds very admirable. I wish you every success. So how do people find out about you? Where's the best place to get in touch? And if you feel like doing a little sales speech, you're welcome to start.
Yeah, so you can find Accentuate Agency on www.accentuate.agency, or you can find us on LinkedIn under Accentuate Agency. The URL is Accentuate SEO.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. Thank you both for popping in.
Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
Really,
thanks
really
for
interesting. And
meeting
now
us.
I need to go back and get on Search Console and PPC and then probably just make a phone call to you and pay.
We do also offer free SEO and pay-per-click audits to people. So like it's usually like a good way, like you might already have an agency, but you just want to just double check a few things, or you're doing it yourself. We offer free audits where we'll sort of do a technical audit report. Just to have a look at sort of your paid ads to make sure you've got your conversion tracking set up, and it just gives people some quick wins of things that, you know, it's no obligation, you don't need to go with us, we'll just give you some action points of these are just some of the things that are really going to help you right now. So that's also something that we do.
I think so. You can follow me on TikTok, Ben_Rapid Pack, and TikTok for Rapid Pack is
Rapid Pack.
Or just search Rapid Pack Fulfilment.
_
I probably should remember. I think it might be Order Fulfilment or something. That might be a competitor. Either way, just search us out. You'll probably find us. Or LinkedIn. You could try and find us on Google, but I don't know how that's going to work. Hopefully these guys can sort that. But yeah, that's it. So just keep in touch and say goodbye to Leah in the background.
Bye.
Bye.
NatWest sponsorship.
We're still focusing on NatWest, Greg's, probably Acosta, any of these. Sponsorship's always welcome. But yeah, thanks very much again.
No, thank you.
See everybody soon.